Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
And I'm your host, Noel John Tui.
We got Karen Mack in the back, and this is another episode of Talking Points. Let's get to it, motherfuckers. All right, Noel, we're back. This time we're back here with Don Shanahan. Don, my man from 25YL, and plus, like all these fucking movie reviews you're always putting up from every movie has a lesson. You're all over the internet, dude. And Rotten Tomatoes, you're everywhere, dude. And your shoulders, your swag there, it's insane. And
it's insane. It's that time of year.
And Christmas is a happy time of year for movie critic. Award season. So, Don, we had you back last time, Will Johnson, for Incredible Hulk. And we're going to have you back soon for Captain America First Avenger. But in the interlude between the two worlds of Marvel, we wanted to get you to come on here and talk a little bit about the rumored cancellation of the DCEU with the release of the new Flash movie, Flashpoint. And Don, what do you make of this this rumor? Do you think there's any truth to it? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? How do you land on it?
I'm in a mixed place because,
Me too.
The Flashpoint movie is what, November? Like, we're talking like an 11-month away movie. People are already kind of spouting off rumors. Now, don't get me wrong. Whatever Warner Brothers has done to manage, the DC extended universe or whatever they're going to call it has been a mess. So, I mean...
Speaking kindly, it's been a mess.
It's a fucking mess. So, and the hard part is this organization is starting to show where they feel forced, or whatever way they do. I don't know if they feel forced, or they look forced, or they just feel like they have to, or they've burned too many bridges with, creators and cast. But now that Marvel's... It's hard because everyone's going to compare them with Marvel, and Marvel's over here doing the whole, multiverse and having a great grand old time with it between the TV shows, and now they're dipping into the movies. So in the same year and a half since they started kind of doing the multiverse thing, DC can't even get out of its own way to get Flashpoint out. And here's Marvel with 4 different shows, 2 different movies that span timelines where anything DC does, they're going to look like shit because it's going to look half-assed and small compared to whatever Marvel's doing. Now, they don't have to do that. The hard part, I think that my regret of it the most is I think DC, from a comic book level, it should be better than this. They have Mount Rushmore. Everyone around the world knows Batman and Superman. You can put those logos anywhere in the world and fourth world countries, and everyone knows who Superman and Batman are. You got to sell Iron Man and Spider-Man and Captain America and the stuff that's been successful, and Marvel's done a bang-up job doing that. You shouldn't have to sell Superman that hard. You shouldn't have to sell Batman that hard. Just say, hey, we got Batman. And people will be like, all right, I'm there. Let's go. Yeah. So, and, they just can't get out of their own way where they can't. Someone's not there organizing things to tie things together. It doesn't have to look like what Marvel's doing. Marvel has, I've called what Marvel's been doing for the last bunch of years here, I called it the blueprint. They sat down and said, hey, we're going to do this in phases. We're going to chunk this out. We're going to interconnect things together, but still have these nice standalone movies. And it's been masterful. DC said, all right, if we start doing that, we're going to look like Marvel's copycats. And they would have been right. So they kind of went with the team up first and said, hey, let's just kind of smash this in one big bang and then send our heroes off from there the way they did with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. But they just still couldn't do that. They couldn't get out of their own way because they have the TV shows. They still want to do Joker for fun, which has nothing to do with anybody, but yet Jared Leto walks the same earth as Joaquin Phoenix. They're just disorganized. So to circle all that back to these rumors that are out there of a needed reboot, I'm like, all right, yeah, you probably need it, but at the same time, all right, hold on. Who's doing it? How are you doing it? And is it worth it? Or how are you gonna paint this? And that's where I'm stuck.
No, do you want to go?
I do. I just want to say again. I'm not going to try and echo anything that he said because what's the point of that? But at the same time, the same way, especially when I've seen the animation movies, how fucking incredible they are.
They're great.
They're brilliant.
They did a Flashpoint too.
Truly. And their Flashpoint is not chef's kiss. But at the same time, Henry Cavill is a great Superman. You know what I mean? The first Wonder Woman film was actually fucking excellent. There was these little the Snyder Cut was awesome. It tied it together. It made it kind of work. And but there's so much back. I get that. We're falling so far behind Marvel. What if we made one really good film and tried to reset the clock?
Yeah,
that makes sense to me. but it's so mismanaged. As in, what's the point of resetting the clock if you've learned nothing?
I know
They're just going to make
they're going to do the
Wonder
same.
Woman 2 was bad.
Yeah.
I just
you know?
think that the reason DC are not as successful as Marvel because they just don't have the same depth when it comes to their pool of superheroes. Because what we're seeing on the big screen now is something that we've all watched already on the small screen with the CW shows over the past 6 or 7 years, and they're going to do the exact same thing that they did on the CW shows. Is that they're going to pretty much round them all up and put them all on one planet Earth and call it the new 52 or whatever, the new continuity like they did on the comic books. Don, you're muted. But like, I got you.
I got background noise above me where I'm just trying to do whatever my kids are doing upstairs.
Oh, no, just so like, I just think what you're going to see is maybe Michael Keaton will return, maybe Ben Affleck's going to return. I think he said it's going to be his last appearance as Batman. So you might see all of these kind of disparate kind of timelines all moved into one, and whoever survives Flashpoint is going to be the continuity going forward. So you'll have the Robert Pattinson Batman, you'll probably have the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and you'll probably have like Barry Allen. You know, you'll have a few people that will be the remnants of the Snyderverse because of the continuity, but I think you'll have a lot of replacements going on forward, and that's how they'll kind of incorporate them all into one goal or something.
And all they've said since Joker 2 years ago, they said that the Joker movie is not meant to connect to anything they've got. Yeah. They haven't said a thing about this Robert Pattinson Batman connect to anything they've got.
Yeah, it's on R2 or something.
Yeah, so they need to make a decision and be like, if we're not doing a universe and we're just out there to make good individual films, hey, have at it. Go make good individual films.
Yeah.
Joker was great for what it is. It sounds like this Robert Pattinson Batman's going to be really solid for what it is. And hey, take those successes, do great things in that kind of way. If Henry Cavill's stuff never ever connects, you've got some solid-ish films that can stand up to their time. Maybe TV is the place that they kind of recoup and say, hey, we've built this Arrowverse on CW for a long time. I don't know if you guys have watched Superman and Lois, the new one here.
Not yet.
It's very good.
I have.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. Yeah.
I'm behind on all of the CW shows.
Oh, skip ahead
I was
to
surprised by because I hate Flash so much.
Oh, me too.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
So I watched this. I just did. I don't know. I'm a Superman guy. Like, you know.
Me too. Superman's my number one. Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to segue the conversation. He said Mount Rushmore, and he's so right. He goes, if before this Iron Man movie came out, let's just say launched Marvel, Mount Rushmore of superheroes was, and this, I don't know what the fifth is, it was Superman, it was Batman, it was, to be fair, it was Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Spider-Man was always absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And then for my money, it was probably The Flash.
Yeah.
If it's not him, thanks to the 90s
Wonder
and thanks to the
Woman.
movies, maybe Wolverine. Maybe.
Wolverine.
Wolverine. You know what? Before it even came out, Wolverine had got used because he got the healing factor in the claws. There was something really epic about it.
And
so
he was super popular. He was super popular in the comics, and then the movies blew up for him, and Hugh Jackman's doing great.
His portrayal on for like 17 years.
That's your top five.
Like,
Spider-Man deserves to be there. Yeah.
Spider-Man deserves to be there. But at the same time, any conversation you have before like the films blew up, DC had such a small roster compared to some of the mutants and the Avengers. But they don't, because they had Superman and they had Batman.
Yeah.
They
should be all you need.
It didn't need to be sold.
Yeah. Which is kind of like, they're like the Coke and Nike of the superhero world, aren't they? Such a recognizable brand. Like.
But Vinny's right. The drop off after the big three of DC, because if you grant Wonder Woman that spot of the big three, at least for DC, after that the drop off is massive because Green Lantern tanked. Flash has done its thing on TV, but he's just a dude that runs. There's not a lot of compelling stuff there. And
I'm Barry Allen, and I'm the fastest man alive. Are you Barry?
Should make a Flash season where there's like another bad speech.
Oh my God!
No. Here we are.
What happened?
But no. So there's just not a lot you can really do there. So yeah, like maybe I'm stubborn this out, but Marvel also has kind of now caught on to the whole TV thing where there's some nice long form yet still contracted storytelling you could do on TV where you don't have to do a 21 episode languishing long traditional TV season. You can get in and get out telling a great nice little chunk of story in 6 to 12 episodes of really compelling good television versus what I know CW has been, to its credit, has been able to build these little universes for several seasons now, doing full 21, 23, 30 episode seasons, which is always a little too much, and which is cool, which for a TV kind of thing is very cool. And that's victory enough. I know that doesn't make what movies make, but they've got something good going, and I feel like they're also at a pivot point because Superman and Lois kind of gets away from the really cheesy nature of the Arrowverse and tells a nice, mature,
it does,
married and with kids Superman that's really
and it feels
good.
Insular. It feels like it's trying to separate itself from that overt multiverse introspection, like silliness.
They're appealing to adults instead of teens, and that and not so extreme as the movies did. Like the movies that Snyder started went dark. And not that there's not room for dark, but everyone's very used to Christopher Reeve smiling and doing great. There's still a generation of people that love the cheekiness that is kind of Tim Burton, but then all the way back to Adam West, where Batman is camp first before he ever became dark. Now, we're used to a dark Batman now.
Because of Frank Miller and whatnot.
Yeah, and even what Nolan's done. So, I mean, Batman can kind of be dark, but at the same time, he's still a true hero. Yeah. So, what the movies have done to kind of just go super dark, like Snyder just went operatic about it. And that's just a hard jump to make when the competition across town has cornered the market on Sunny and Awesome. And but I still understand that I could picture the board meeting where Warner's like, hey, Marvel's killing it. What do we do? Well, we could do this, guys. We can take our core heroes and make them the right way they make them, but it will look just like them. And someone's gonna be like, yeah, fuck that, we're not doing that. So what else can we do? Well, we can go dark. And then and they go so dark. I mean, they still stay PG-13 to get that big audience, but they go so dark that it just kind of betrays the stuff that people like about these heroes. Even the dark stuff if Batman gets too far, that they just lost. So that's the part of this reboot that I'm okay with, is they almost saw it as it went already. Like Shazam got light and still kind of spooky where it could be. Wonder Woman did the Snyder action.
Shazam was fun.
Shazam was fun.
I defy anyone to tell me Shazam wasn't.
Yeah, it was like DCEU's Ant-Man or something. It was it was like a really fun movie.
And I don't mind Aquaman. Aquaman had some ballsy, cool action.
Oh, no, I liked Aquaman.
So they pivoted enough. We're like, hey, you can fix this. Just let Henry Cavill come back, lighten the mood a little bit, you've got him back, lighten the movie up a little bit, turn a few more lights on. Doesn't have to be so dark as Snyder. And then whatever you got with Batman, capitalize while you have Affleck for at least a little bit of time here. And I think, the hard part is now, all the burned bridges with Snyder, thanks to the new cut that he had to go do himself and the studio begrudgingly put out there with no intention to kind of capitalize on, they can't go back to that. Even though it righted a lot of wrongs, you could do a flashpoint that pivots a little bit of that without blowing it all up. Because the rumors are, you've got Michael Keaton floating around, then you have a new Batgirl, and there's some Black Canary and a new Supergirl that's multi-ethnic, and I get that there's some modern stuff going there, but you're just grasping here a little. Just either take TV as the place where you're just going to do long form storytelling and make one shot big movies that work, or I don't know.
You know what?
Do you think it's going on?
I'm stuck.
Sorry, I was just I know the big sport over there is football. We call it what we call football. We call it soccer, but it makes me think. Me and Vinnie happen to support the same team, and sometimes it's a knockout stage. And you're one behind, so you start doing silly things instead of smart things, because you just like, you know what, the chances of this ball going in are 1 in 100, but I'm just going to do it because it's panic. And DC has felt to me like it's in panic mode. I need something to be so spectacular, so I bring Wonder Woman to 1984 or you know what I mean, like just these or Batman versus Superman, but don't worry about storyline. Just get Batman and Superman to punch it out, and maybe he doesn't kill him, because obviously I wouldn't kill a man with the same name as my mother.
But do you think it's a case of like what makes superhero movies? Like, you can say all these different things that make superhero movies successful: the tone, the performances, the portrayal, the mythos, all these things. But what really makes them successful in terms of box office is how you grab the casuals.
Yeah.
And like the problem with the DC universe is, if I'm a guy that's casual who'd never read the comic books, I follow the CW, I go to see the feature movies. I'm like, and then to see these new movies coming. So I've got Ben Affleck's Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, Grant Gustin's The Flash, and then you got yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so like what Marvel do is, we're going to make a TV show, but every single TV show is going to have a brand new character. We're going to expand our universe in different ways, and like little kind of nooks and crannies, like Hawkeye, like Falcon Winter Soldier,
right,
and like WandaVision. They're all their own individual stories. But CW had The Flash. We have 6 seasons of that. We had Arrow. So like anything that like you introduce into the movies, anybody that's followed these kind of characters is going to feel jaded, or they're going to be confused if they haven't followed them. Like, who's the Flash? What's this Flash? And who's this guy? How's he Barry Allen? This Barry Allen, you know? So I think the way Marvel have built so gradually, and because they've incorporated so many different characters, because their pool is so deep, that they can have all these individual stories, and they can capture the casuals and hold their attention, and people can duck in and out. Like, you can watch a Hawkeye, but you might not have seen WandaVision. You can watch like a Falcon Winter Soldier, but you might not have seen Spider-Man No Way Home or something. You know, that kind of thing. Like, where you can just duck in and out. It's like, it's very episodic. It's sometimes very standalone. But with DC, I think it's just
Marvel, though. The macro of Marvel is so incredible. Like, that's what's so incredible. And DC have never ever managed the macro. They've never ever seemed to be able to see beyond their noses.
And it's a shame, because they accidentally have the C's, because they have the rich television. Where would it have been? I know Tom Welling probably wasn't interested around the same time they made the Brandon Routh Superman Returns, but how hard would it have been to throw the guy a couple $1 million to just grow up and be Superman and just graduate Smallville up, you know?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the hardest thing in the world.
No.
Could you have graduated Flash up the same way we've got? I love Superman and Lois, where go ahead and let, Tyler Hoechlin just kind of do his thing. Like, if it never turns into a big screen movie, fine, but you've got the stuff there. And then the animated stuff is incredible, where you have, and those movies have started to connect and have pieces that all go together, where you've got a universe accidentally. It just isn't one that unfortunately makes the most money. And that's probably where the business end of it's like, well, what do we do? So if I'm in this meeting, or if I'm in Warner Brothers and I try to fix this better than what they're doing, you just got to put time in between it. Like, I'm thinking of like the new James Bond that is likely coming in 2 years, because Sony can't hold their wad, and they're going to want that cash cow character back, even though Daniel Craig is done. Yeah. Where, no one will ever do it because no one's patient enough, but you got to wait 5, maybe even 10 years before you make a new incarnation of something, because you remove the overlap. Ben Affleck will be too old by that point. Robert Pattinson will have this nice little 1-2 movie run of whatever they're doing now, and that can all go away. And then the Arrowverse on TV can kind of finish, because if they're doing this older Superman thing, Tyler Hoechlin's not going to do that forever. And then, maybe 2030, 8 years from now, when everything's kind of done and gone away, Marvel's kind of exhausted. Maybe they won't exhaust, but Marvel's at a point where maybe they're on another phase. And you can kind of say, you know what? The right leader has come in and said, let's redo this right. And then they rebuild DC with bright, new, different things for now, without all the patches and band-aids and stitching that they're trying to do now. Like, everything old is gone because it has had time to pass on. They just don't put time between this. And Marvel almost made that same mistake with all these Spider-Man they've done. Like, when you think about it, we're on our 3rd Spider-Man in under 25 years, and it's kind of stupid. Because either the Tobey thing should have been dead and gone, and then either the Garfield thing should have been dead and gone, but they magically were able to weave this just so right with Holland that they miraculously pulled it off. And then look what they do with the new movie of making it all work. And it's just, they're just so damn
the macro. That's what I mean. It's a macro.
Yeah.
So people are, because there's been a couple of individual cases. Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Man of Steel were good fucking films. Batman vs Superman was garbage. Joss Whedon's. Joss Whedon's
Martha will not die tonight.
Garbage. But like, at the same time, they don't. They just try and make a movie. And again, to go back to my analogy, it reminds me of later in the game where you really need to win it, and you know what? You're just out. There's nothing. It's all or nothing. So you try and do something spectacular in the hopes when somebody else has actually got their tactics right from word one. and how great
I just think one thing about the DCEU is, right, because of all their failures, they lacked anticipation for the newest releases, so they suffered in the box office. One thing that had massive anticipation, something we talked about in a yearly roundup, was the Snyder Cut. It had massive anticipation, and then it got an extremely positive reaction, and it left it open for a possible sequel. And they dropped the ball. They're like, okay, for once, people are excited. And they could have just continued and just give us 2 or 3 more movies, then have Flashpoint if you want to rewrite it all. But you get to wrap it up, and you have people excited with a Justice League sequel. You re-release the Snyder Cut in the cinema and the build-up to the release of the sequel, and then you come out with Flashpoint, and you can rewrite it all up in a nice little tiny bow, and you can just move on then with your new continuity. You know,
that would require Warner Brothers to admit they're wrong. You'll never hear a studio say that. You'll never hear a studio say, we should have gave that director full control. And you know what? We're sorry, Zach. Here's a bunch of $1 million to heal our relationship. Come back, make 3 more movies. Like, and Zack Snyder would have them by the balls if he, to ask his price. But at the same time, at some point, Snyder would come back and still make 3 of his movies, which are hit or miss. Like, he got his way with Justice League, but go back to Batman versus Superman. That's a hot mess. The risk of asking for 3 more hot messes is another story.
I would just give him 1 more movie and then moved on to Flashpoint and tied it off.
I agree.
Just give him a chance to finish the story because people are so excited about it. You know what I mean?
I think that next movie should have been one more standalone Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, because that man's shown up in enough places, like just ducking in Suicide Squad. Flash, of course, is ready with Flashpoint and doing his own thing wherever he's at. But Henry Cavill, now that he had like his little rookie year story, then he had the ridiculousness of putting the Doomsday thing as a rookie. Like, the death of Superman from the old comics, the Doomsday thing, that happened to like a veteran Superman, a Superman that was married, a Superman that everyone in the whole world loved. Like, it didn't happen to the
less than 30 times. I mean, that's
amazing, incredible graphic novel.
So, but like in the movie, they stuffed. Batman vs. Superman would have been just fine if you took the Doomsday stuff out, because you have this mano a mano of Brains versus Brawn and Lex Luthor twisting the screws a little bit, and it can work, and it was good. But then you go
the Martha thing, man. You need to kill the Martha thing.
But then you get
the Martha thing.
But then you get to Doomsday, and his death doesn't matter because it's the rookie Superman that's 18 months in the job that the world's still kind of sketchy about. Like, that's
he's 33 or something as well.
Yeah, but
it doesn't hit you the way like Tony Stark dying in Endgame.
Because Tony Stark
that's fucking art.
Amazing.
Exactly. He also had the nth degree, I know, on purpose.
Yeah. That's what Superman's supposed to be. When Superman dies,
that death should have mattered. It should have mattered, like, as the guy who's recognized world round as the guy who's the leader and the savior of all things, and that's what Tony Stark was built as in the MCU. In Batman versus Superman, he's still the guy that people are still making court trials about. Like, are you really trust you or not? Like, it's the weird like new guy thing, and like when he dies, in a world that half cares about him, doesn't matter. People are like, "Oh, that fad just went away," and
he needed 2 more movies.
Himself.
He should have died
at least 2 more movies.
Before he died. Yeah, I think he should have died in a Justice League movie.
Yeah, or if they pull off Doomsday now in Superman and Lois with veteran Superman with kids, and where that death matters. Oh man, orphan kids. Woo.
Can I pull out my big dick of comic book reading? Is that
here? Let me make the sound. Boom.
But the whole idea behind Doomsday was that there was this absolutely insane whatever kind of scientist deals with genetics and kind of and war and everything else. And on the most hostile planet, it created a baby and just threw it out there, and it was torn apart. And took the genetic material back, rinse and repeat, and slowly its evolution grew and grew and grew to the point where it was able to throw on the most hostile planet in the universe a baby out into it, and it destroyed every single life form on the planet. That's what Doomsday was. That's how big a fucking bastard Doomsday was. Mm-hmm, Doomsday arrived on the planet because the planet that was on before didn't know how to kill it. It was constantly evolving. It was something that could hurt Superman at his absolute peak. It could fight Superman on the surface of the fucking sun. That's what Doomsday was. So I just thought it was so underwhelming, and when they fucking brought Doomsday,
the execution.
Yeah,
the execution of Darkseid and
even
Doomsday.
If it was cool.
Even
if people that didn't read comics, let's just say somebody who's not as versed in the comics as I am, said, "Oh, I just thought that was absolutely like really, really cool." I'd still be pissed off because I just thought the origin was so cool. But I would obviously have to admit that if something was so spectacular on screen, I would go, "Yes, that was really cool." But it doesn't have that either.
No, it's like the Zod body reanimated. It's like a bad zombie movie.
It's just generations off. No, fuck off. This guy was literally created over like a really prolonged period of time with him.
And Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor as well.
Yeah.
Fucking land. Like, there's so many poor cast.
Could have. As crazy as it sounds, I think it could have. I'm open to a Lex Luthor that doesn't follow the modern man that of your Elon Musk's or something like. Forget what you were. Forget your parents, billionaires. But it just didn't. It was.
No.
It's because nothing worked.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And so
and you said it. You said it, Noel. It's execution, and who's there? Turning the knobs and turning the wheels of execution.
Jeff Johns.
Is it Jeff Johns? Is it Snyder? Is it somebody bigger at Warner? Or is there no one at the wheel? Because you got Kevin Feige, who's super strict about who controls that, and they have like you hear about the stories of how Marvel has like a little brain trust of people that all get together and still talk, even if it's not their movie, and keep things together. They still got Jon Favreau in the fold, just talking to make sure all ducks are in a row. No one's doing that at Warner, and it needs to be somebody.
So when you look at the DCEU going forward, and if these rumors are true, Flashpoint rewrites the continuity, and we have Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, we have this big event that's kind of like might seem a little bit old hack now on the back of No Way Home and what we've already seen on TV. So are you excited for the DCEU, or do you think it's going to be more the same going forward?
I don't know. I want to be excited because, like Noel, I'm a DC man before I'm a Marvel man. I love Superman and Batman. As a child of the 80s, like, you can't beat Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton. And I still show my kids the 60s Adam West stuff. I love that stuff. Old school DC is wonderful. So I'll always love that, and I'll always look for it. And I'm going to be first row in the seats to watch it. But man, until I see, I don't need to know story. I don't need the leaks and the spoilers. Like, I'm not one of those guys that falls for that stuff or needs to eat that stuff up. But
you don't watch trailers.
I don't. So I need to see. Even these Twitter rumors. For a movie that's 11 months away, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. But what I will believe when I see is who's in charge. Who, if Flashpoint's wiping what it's wiping, who's picking up the pieces to forge on after that. If that's a good name, a bad name, or at least a brain trust of somebody, that's what I'm waiting to see. Who's in charge? Which is weird that I care about the business end of it more than the who's on screen part. But
that's the DC, man. We've seen Green Lantern tank, and we've seen like Brandon Root, not good Superman in a bad film, but like we've seen a tank. Yeah. And so as DC guys, they're fair questions. They're fair fucking questions, man. Yeah. Because how do you feel about it? We are talking about something we don't know. We're not looking back. We're looking forward.
I have a feeling that maybe they leaked the rumors this early to get people ready for what's about to happen,
or even test the waters.
Yeah, to float it. Like, hey, let's just see what would happen if we said we were going to wipe everything, and then if we don't, we'll look like people who smartened up, hired the right people, kept it real quiet. Or you're right, or we listen to the fans and go, no, bring back this, bring back that, keep this, keep that. It could be a water testing thing, which is weird, but it would work.
I love we give them too much credit for competence. That's not been my experience.
So I agree. Like, this is probably a straight up leak for what's straight up happening, and we're all
exactly. Yeah.
So before we get the fuck out here, so in one word answer, I'm going to throw it to you, Don, then Noel. Are you excited for the future DCU? Yes or no?
No.
Noel.
Yes. Desperation.
Break the time,
Vinnie.
No, I'm not excited. They're a mess.
Sorry. I'm kind of not either, to be honest.
Keep my expectations lower, and then hopefully they'll always go past them or exceed them. So, all right, we get the fuck out of here, and Don, we get you to come back. We talk to Captain America. All right, so that was this week's Talking Point, possible rumor about DC cancellation. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Toohey, and good kryptonite.
Amazing. We got Karen back in the bag. That was Don Shanahan, and we'll see you next time, motherfuckers. Peace.